it puts Republicans in a very tough spot. They have been feeding this conspiracy theory about Jeffrey Epstein, and now they can't get out of it. Hey, everyone, welcome to the show. So I did not think I would be talking about the Jeffrey Epstein story again today. We've talked about it a bunch this week. I figured that it would have largely died down. Why? Because we know that the president made calls to various right-wing media influencers who agreed, it seems, to basically stop covering the story. And so I figured, okay, this is done. It doesn't mean that it's a satisfactory ending necessarily, but it's done. And yet, rather than accept that he has been pretty successful in getting Fox primetime to almost never mention it, and some key influencers to move on, president sort of lost it, went crazy about this, about the Epstein stuff, now putting it back in the news, and also making me think the level of anger he has about this further supports Elon Musk's theory that he doesn't want to release the documents because he would be part of it. And as I've said before, doesn't mean he engaged in any wrongdoing. It just means that his name would be associated with whatever dump there would be. I mean, listen to the language he uses, right? This is a True Social post from 9:43 this morning. The radical left Democrats have hit pay dirt again, just like the fake and fully discredited Steele dossier, the lying 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, which the Dems swore had come from Russia, and even the Russia scam, a totally fake and made-up story used to hide crooked Hillary Clinton's big loss in the 2016 election. These scams and hoaxes are all the Democrats are good at. It's all they have. They're no good at governing, no good at policy, and no good at picking winning candidates. Also, unlike Republicans, they stick together like glue, which is absolutely not true. Their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. And my past supporters, and past is in all caps, have bought into this bullshit, hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will, even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 long years. I've had more success in 6 months than perhaps any country president in our country's history. And all these people want to talk about with strong prodding by the fake news and the success star of Dems is the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success because I don't want their support anymore. I don't want their support anymore. Thank you again for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. I mean, he's blasting his own supporters who care about the Jeffrey Epstein case. Now, again, I've told you before, I don't think there's a there in the Epstein documents. Why? Because I think we learned a lot in the Ghislaine Maxwell case about exactly what's out there, and also in the civil lawsuits that were filed. And so I don't think that there's any evidence of a client list. I think there's a list of a victims list or a survivors list, but there's not a list of people who secretly were involved with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, we know about some of them, right? I mean, some of them have been made public. So the level of his anger about this. And here he is. This is a press conference that he had in the last couple of hours with the prince from Bahrain. He was asked about this. This is number one.
You said this was all a hoax. Has your attorney general told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you seen of that? No,
it's not the attorney general. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And it's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier. That turned out to be a total hoax. the 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats, and some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net, and so they try and do the Democrats' work.
Chris Wray is the one who supposedly, Chris Wray, by the way, the lifelong Republican, is the one who supposedly started this. I mean, this is really cuckoo stuff. I mean, I'm just looking to see if there's any evidence of Chris Wray's comments about Jeffrey Epstein. Congressman Steve Cohn expressed concern back in 2024 that Epstein had compromising photographs of Donald Trump. That's according to the Michael Wolff book or article. This idea of blaming Chris Wray, I mean, this is nuts. This is nuts. It puts Republicans in a very tough spot because, look, they have been feeding this conspiracy theory about Jeffrey Epstein, and now they can't get out of it. Here's Mike Johnson trying to walk the line on the Benny Johnson show yesterday. This is number 5.
I'm for transparency. We're intellectually consistent in this. Look, Reagan used to tell us we should trust the American people. I believe in that principle. I know President Trump does as well, and I trust him. I mean, he put together a team of his choosing, and they're doing a great job. It's a very delicate subject, but we should put everything out there and let the people decide it. I mean, the White House and the White House team are privy to facts that I don't know. I mean, this isn't my lane. I haven't been involved in that. But I agree with the sentiment that we need to put it out there. And you know, Pam Bondi, I don't know, when she originally made the statement, I think she was talking about documents, as I understood it, they were on her desk. I don't know that she was specific about a list or whatever, but she needs to come forward and explain that to everybody. I like Pam. I mean, I think she's done a good job. We need the DOJ focusing on the major priorities. So let's get this thing resolved so that they can deal with violent crime and public safety and election integrity and going after Act Blue and the things that the president is most concerned about, as we are. So I'm anxious to get this behind us.
You would think this is something they want to get behind them. But here's the problem. Again, the MAGA folks who are obsessed with this story are not going to be satisfied with whatever is released. Period. They are not going to be satisfied because they want a list of names, preferably of Democrats, who were involved with Jeffrey Epstein's pedophilia ring, and they want to be able to show that that's why Jeffrey Epstein was murdered. It's not going to happen. I mean, again, they're talking about, you know, Trump has talked about, well, maybe releasing credible information. That's not what the MAGA folks are asking for. The credible information would be to release stuff related to the prosecution or lack thereof of Jeffrey Epstein. It took so long, et cetera. You could certainly put out some of the stuff that the FBI got in the raid of his home. The lists that he has are his friends. Donald Trump was one of them. He doesn't want to put this out and get looped in and linked up with Jeffrey Epstein again. I get that. You're seeing people like Charlie Kirk now saying he's done talking about Epstein, and it's putting folks on the right in a very tough spot. You had this weekend people like Laura Ingraham riling people up and then saying on Monday, well, you know, we should probably move on from this. And that's what Megyn Kelly talked about. This is number 8.
You now have some MAGA influencers clearly on direction of the White House saying, okay, I'm done. You had Laura Ingraham go on her show on Fox News on last night being like, oh, well, you know, after there was the pile-on at Charlie Kirk's Turning Point event, you know, where all this Republican infighting, and then kind of suggested she's moving on from Epstein. Okay, she was part of it. I like Laura, but she 100% stood up there and fanned this flame. I 100% talked about Pam Bondi and Epstein. I was on the receiving end of a Q&A. Charlie Kirk was asking those questions. This is not Megyn Kelly's choice for the questions of the evening. The interviewer sets the tone and chooses the subject. with which I was 100% fine and remain fine. But let's not pretend that, some of the president's most loyal advocates aren't very, very interested in Epstein. They are.
Of course, she's right. But I mean, it's just so interesting that she's now suggesting, well, I was just being asked questions. It's not that I want to talk about it either. I mean, she's saying, oh, I was fine with it. But they're all so scared of being criticized now by Trump. It is astonishing. It's astonishing that he's now going after his, quote, past supporters. This is how angry he is about this. And I thought this was really going to go away. I really did. If I were President Trump, I certainly would not have put out this Truth Social post. But even when asked about it, I would just say, look, I'm going to let the DOJ handle it. That's it. I'm going to let the DOJ handle it. I now am starting to think again. So at first I thought this is going to hurt him politically. Then I started thinking, you know what? Like so much of this stuff, he's just going to be able to get past this. And now I'm starting to think again, it's going to hurt him politically. Let me play one more piece of sound of something that he just said. This is number 2. This is the president with the Prince of Bahrain.
No, it's I call it the Epstein hoax. It takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements we've had, a great gentleman yesterday, as you know, went on CNBC and he made the statement that Trump may go down as the greatest president of all in the United States. And instead of talking about the things we've achieved, we've had tremendous achievement. They're wasting their time with a guy who obviously had some very serious problems, who died 3-4 years ago. I'd rather talk about the success we have with.
Well, look, and he's got a point in that regard, right? The problem is it doesn't feel honest. Now, I've said this before. The Democrats' sudden interest in this issue is totally dishonest, right? They just like it because it's bad for Trump. So suddenly, they want to release all the Epstein files, right? Oh, okay. Look, this is a controversy of their own making. Pam Bondi assured the public that she had the files on her desk, that they were just redacting the names and it was going to be released. When I say redacting names, I mean to protect the accusers. And, it's interesting because you have some folks like Alan Dershowitz is out there saying, oh, well, judges are protecting the names. Well, a lot of what they're protecting is the victims' names. And he thinks that's wrong. He says there are other names as well, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense. So do you guys think this is actually going to matter? Is it actually going to hurt Trump? And I'd love to hear from Trump supporters as to, are you offended by him saying you're now his past supporters? If this is their new scam, is what we have forever called the Jeffrey Epstein hoax, and my, quote, past supporters have bought into this bullshit hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will.